All right, I've got just a little bit more content that I want to get through where I'm just talking to you. But this one I'm actually introducing the next assignment essentially. Um, with this information in mind, we have to figure out some way to develop this into an architectural condition. So, pending a conversation with Iggy, I'll figure out exactly how many of the diagrams or what kind of construct we want for reformatting these diagrams for Palm Springs. But we are going to now connect this abstract sort of conceptual diagram to an actual building section. For now, for the project that you just completed, we'll use the building that you've already designed. But in the future, it'll be sort of at the same time, we'll have to have our analysis done ahead of time so that we can make sure that this diagram makes it into the presentation. Okay, so what I'm about to show you should actually be, in one form or another, a part of your presentation for your design assignment. Okay. So, while the diagrams we were looking at here were very technical in nature, we're going to sort of combine the technical diagramming with a little bit more of an illustrative drawing. So one of the things, again, I'm really glad we had that conversation before class. One of the things we talked about before class was the building section, where many of the students were drawing a building section on the sheet with plans, building sections, all technical, all fine and clean, and then you went into your analysis on a separate sheet. And on that sheet, you basically copy the building section, and then you draw over your environmental analysis, right? It's a little redundant, it's more work for you, and it takes up more space. But what we can do is actually expand the scope of that second diagram to show more of the building and to communicate a little bit more graphically what is actually happening as a result of the analysis that we've done here. Okay, so this right now is diagramming step 3. The next part of this is facade designing step 1. Okay, so moving into facade designing step 1 looks a little bit like this. Our assignment is basically going to be a technical and illustrative building section, either perspective or axonometric, to put it simply. So the scope and objective of this is to communicate, essentially the entire operation of the envelope of your building. Does it need to go all the way through your building? Well, that depends. Like this one goes all the way through to the back side of the building, and that's because it's capturing wind from this side of the building and passing it through out of the back. So it's necessary to have the back side of the building. If your exercise is not using passive cooling and sending it out the back side, then you might only need to show a section of the facade itself. So as I flip through, we're going to just kind of look at a couple different ways of communicating. It's all very similar information, and it's stuff that you're aware of. But we'll just look at a couple different ways of communicating a lot of this type of stuff. So this one is showing the swimming pool as a cooling element, the planting that's being done out front, sort of a green wall sort of thing, radiant floor heating, long overhangs for sun protection, rooftop gardens, skylights, I guess that's for indoor air quality, comfort, and stuff like that. Oh, there's also a stack effect exhaust going in there. I didn't see that before. So this is a very technical drawing, but it's also a very beautiful illustration. This is also a very technical drawing that's combined with a lot of the analysis that we saw previously. Will that be necessary, that we have it combined specifically with all the analysis previously? I'm not sure. That'll come with whatever your final presentation requirements are. But seeing this, you have a little bit of knowledge, how heating and cooling is passed into the spaces, what the energy consumption rates are going to be. the vertical heating and cooling systems. Um, you can get a sense of how to communicate a little bit more. Can you do that in the actual axonometric section? Yeah, probably. But this one is quite a dense drawing, and so they took that information and pulled it out on the side. In fact, Iggy probably will want you to pull it out on the side. But there are a few examples that, like this one right here, just showed our cooling or passive cooling arrows kind of flowing through the space with text callouts on the side.
Shows that little dotted on the bottom, correlating that little diagram.
Ah, yeah. So this is very similar to what Yi Ying was doing with the dotted line. Just kind of pulls a little side diagram into a particular component. Thank you for calling that out. So this one has a technical section right next to the illustrative section. I don't know that. I don't know that you need both. We'll see. This one is not necessarily an environmental diagram, but I think it communicates really clearly. Just the quality of the graphics, the colors that it's using. I believe this is primarily just a circulation and program diagram. It's showing masses of people moving here and there, and for what reason. But what they did was they showed the axonometric section in just plain gray. They didn't apply any material, but they overlaid all of these sections with just color overlays. I wonder if they rendered that. I don't think they rendered that. I don't think they rendered the color. I think they did that in Photoshop. But very importantly, you can see that the floor plans are over here, and the floor plans actually have some kind of diagrammatic components built right into it, right? So that's an option as well. And so moving away from the actual fully produced technical drawings, now we can start to look at this as a purely a drawing. Nothing says that you have to have your drawing be done in a rendering. So this, well, I mean, technically this is a rendering. I should qualify that by saying a computer-generated rendering. This one looks like it was just a hand sketch that was, filled in with an underlay of color, something like that. So in the future, I don't think we're going to be doing this, but I wanted to show you that you can do this as well. And there's no reason you can't just put your technical diagrams on the side of this as well, and then kind of connect the dots, essentially, showing where all the different systems that you've analyzed and designed apply. Another example of that, all the ones we looked at so far have been kind of from the side. This one is from head-on, where you're showing a perspective section rather than an axonometric section, but it's head-on, and you can see a lot more information into the depth of the space. So we, as designers, will have to figure out whether or not this is the preferred location, or if we want to essentially only show, that. Okay, maybe this is all we need to show. And it's not going to be the same for all of us. The reason I'm speaking about all of this very kind of not specifically right now is because all your buildings are going to be different. So we need to be prepared for a number of situations. Yes?
Now, would you be comfortable with mixing hand sketches and drawings with digital stuff? Or
Yes.
Is that, no?
Yes, absolutely. It's hard to do. What we're going to do rather than hand sketches over top of a digital drawing is we're going to first explore, and this is what we're going to start now, we're going to first explore the combination of raster and vector. So once you kind of understand how to take a raster image and then overlay it with a vector image, I think you'll understand a bit more about doing that. You'll have to know quite a bit about Photoshop and Photoshop mostly, depending on how you do it. Does that make sense? Okay. That might be it. Yeah, that's it. So, so it's not a super exhaustive exercise. In fact, I think most of your design projects right now are relatively simple. You have not developed really intricate facades yet, I think. I don't know. I haven't seen your projects. But they're going to get pretty intricate. What I'm going to start on is this file right here. This was actually generated with Grasshopper. So,
Panels?
huh?
Those panels?
Yeah. So this one's pretty simple. It's not like a full. I don't have glass on the inside or anything, and I'm just going to use it to generate a quick section. But what we're going to get to the point of is creating a lot of geometrical complexity in our facade system with Grasshopper, and then we need to figure out how to show it, basically. So this is just going to be my abstract exercise. I think that you guys should probably spend a little bit of time figuring out where you want to cut a section of your facade. I suggest that you cut it where you can see part of the ground plane as well. And if you'd like, I'll come around real quick and look at your model so that we can pick an appropriate spot. We're going to need that now because we're going to do that in class here. Okay, so I'll give you guys... I'll start with 20 minutes, and then if we're still, having some trouble, I'll maybe give us another 10 minutes to get to a point where we can actually start producing some of the drawings that you were seeing. Any questions?
What if mine's just like a gloss?
We'll work on it. Maybe you could just do like a, an overhang extension or
I'm
something.
not really good at Rhino, so I use a different program.
You did?
All my other stuff, so.
Okay. Well, we'll figure it out. I'll see what you have. Okay. What else? I think that's about it. I'll come around and I'll see your models and I'll comment on anything that's missing if we need it.
I don't know if I have my model right there.
Okay, we can use a placeholder. It's not a big deal. We're not going to do that much, so.